Prepare for economic collapse. Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. And no, I'm not going fear-based where it's all going to collapse now, but there's some common sense things that you can do to prepare yourself and to better equip yourself to survive an economic collapse. The way I look at it is it's inevitable. I mean, it's going to happen because our debt, inflation, just everything going on. I mean, it's just the devaluation of the dollar, the fact there's a fiat currency in the first place. There's just so much to it. So I do believe that we're headed for an economic collapse. I'm not saying that out of fear. It's just facts are facts. And that's what I feel. So what are some things that you can do to better prepare yourself to weather an economic collapse? There's a lot of things you can do. Sorry, I got a little beard hair in my mouth. One of the first things is subscribe to this channel. Hit that thumbs up, share the videos, comment below, and check out our Patreon. That will definitely save you from an economic collapse. Seriously, though. Leaving money in the bank, I don't feel is a good idea. I think what we personally do, I'll tell you what we do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. What we do is we keep enough money in the bank to pay our bills and just do the normal things like that. We withdraw everything else. We hide it in different locations. Caches, buried, hidden, other locations. You know, not all your eggs in one basket. So keep it safe. Make sure you don't lose it. And if you do bury it, don't bury it where the critters, like moles and stuff like that, can get into it and eat it all up, because that would really suck. But anyway. You can also do other things like turn it into tangible goods. But if you do it in tangible goods, then you got to make sure that if you need the cash, you either can barter or trade those tangible goods for what you need, or that you can turn those tangible goods back into cash quickly so that you can use it for what you need. Silver's really good for that. Some people like gold. I personally don't like gold because it's not that divisible. That's my main thing about gold. It costs a lot of money to buy it. I know you can get the smallest divisible amount is still quite a bit of money when we're talking gold. But that's a personal preference. There's also freedom seeds, you know, the pews, those kind of things. That's a good investment, I believe. But what are some other ways and other things that you can do to prepare for economic collapse? One of the biggest things I feel is important, and like I said, I'm telling you, my opinion and what we do. Get yourselves 100% absolutely debt-free. That's a really good way to go about it. For everything, just in life. I don't like debt at all. Biblically speaking, it's not a good thing. And it's just, if you have debt, then somebody's over you, controlling you. Has some level of control over your life. And I don't like that. I want to control my life. I love my free will, and I don't want it impeded by anybody else. So debt-free is very important. Other things is to avoid economic collapse and things that come with it. A lot of things that come with it are inflation. We're seeing that, right? We're seeing shortages and stuff like that. So getting your preps squared away. Obviously, this is a prepping channel, food storage, that will help mitigate those effects. And if there is an economic collapse and you can't go get food at the grocery store anymore, we know that that would probably snowball into a large event. And a large event, what are you going to need? You're going to need food, water, all the standard prepping things that we talk about and all of your channels talk about on a regular basis. It's very important. So one of the best ways that I feel to avoid economic collapse or any long-term event is self-sustainability. Getting outside the system as much as possible. We all know that the system is very fragile. It's an on-demand supply system. Grocery stores don't have the storeroom in the back anymore. What they have on the shelves is pretty much it. And trucks come in. Well, when those trucks stop coming in, those shelves start going empty. We know about that. About 2 or 3 days, most grocery stores would probably be wiped out. So having the ability to produce your own food. I've talked many times on this channel, other people have talked about it also, that food storage, water storage, all that stuff's great. You need it. But that is an emergency backup plan. Because once you start using those supplies, you start that stopwatch on your life. Because unless you have the ability to replenish the things that you have and the things that you're using, then you will run out. Then what do? There's a lot of things that you can do to attain that self-reliance, the self-sustainability. I've shown all my garden, my big garden, 24 raised beds, a bunch of in-ground areas, a bunch of containers. Speaking of containers, I don't need any other topsoil this year because I'm not building any more raised beds. I got a lot. It's a lot to keep up with. The things I'm going to be doing this year for my self-sustainability, and yes, this does apply to the topic, is adding drip lines to all my raised beds. It's going to be a big project, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to bury the lines out to each raised bed, have them come up and over and in the raised beds, so that I don't have to be here every single day. If I want to take a trip, or I want to go to my primary bug out location for a week or something like that, or whatever, then I'm squared away and have it on some kind of mechanical timer. I know they have them for my water, so they would just water for so many hours a day. That's a good setup. But what I do need topsoil for this year, back to the topsoil topic, is for my containers, because I don't leave topsoil in my containers because they're just plastic totes. And I don't want the chemicals from the plastic totes leaching into the soil by keeping it in there year after year. So I use the soil in my totes for one season, and then I dump them in my raised beds to help level my raised beds as they settle. So I need new topsoil for my containers. All the containers pretty much just grow potatoes. So that's a good thing. Nice loose soil. So I will need that. Raising your own animals is very important. You all know about chickens, goats, sheep, cows, pheasants, turkeys, ducks, a lot of different animals that you can raise. Some you can raise indoors. So even if you're in an apartment, you may be able to, depending on the laws, restrictions, all that stuff like that. If you're living in an apartment, you probably are under stuff like that where you may not be able to. But think about things like animals that can be construed as pets, but also could be food if you decide to go that route and that's what you eat, like rabbits. Those Flemish giants, the big meat rabbits, if you have, you might be able to get away with 3 or 4 of those. Check out what your restrictions are and do the best you can. Even in an apartment, you can grow some food indoors. You can grow it on your little veranda that you have, or whatever your situation is. There is stuff that you can do. So growing your own food, raising your own food is important. But what else is there? There is also foraging. Out in nature, all around me, there's food. Here in the Pacific Northwest, you almost can't starve if you know how to forage. People talk about food shortages and stuff like that. People will be starving to death. Well, there's food everywhere. Go get it. Learn to forage. That's a very important skill. No matter where you live, there are at least some things that you can forage for food. Even if you live in the desert, there's still some things that you can learn about. Along with foraging, hunting. We all know, everybody talks about the fact that in a long-term event, hunting won't be sustainable for very long because everybody will hunt. Thus, the animal population will decrease severely. My plan is for the hunting portion of what I'm going to be doing is I would suggest, and I will be going after large game first because everybody else will. So that will go first. Then I will transition to small game because small game replenishes quicker, there's more of it out there, maybe. It's just my plan. Also, along with the hunting, you got trapping and you have snaring. Very important skills to learn how to do. Another thing that I like about trapping and snaring is the fact that hunting, you need to go out there physically and you got to sit somewhere or walk somewhere or do it. You got to be there. right on site doing it, which takes time away from other duties. Trapping and snaring doesn't. You can set up a trap line, a snare line, whatever you want to call it, all over the place, wherever you want, depending on your location. And that doesn't take all of your time. You don't have to be there for that. You don't have to sit there. You can be doing other things. So it's a really good thing to do. So to avoid economic collapse, I would keep money out of the bank. I would get tangible goods. I would get out of debt. I would grow my own food. I would raise my own animals. I would learn to hunt, trap, snare, and forage. As well as, I almost forgot, fish. Fish is a great source because fishing would probably last, the fish in the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, would probably last longer than the large game and the small game would be in an extended event. So think about fishing. If you're in a location where there's fishing. Here, Pacific Northwest, I'm right really close to Puget Sound area, the ocean. It's probably never going to run out of fish unless it's a really long-term event and people go crazy about it. But anyway, these are some things that I feel are very important and that will help you, for real, weather an economic collapse. Not about fear. It's about being practical, doing things that really matter. I love you guys. I want you guys to be prepared. I want you guys to weather this storm. Have a wonderful day, and blessings to you and yours.